Welcome, beautiful soul. Do you ever wonder what it would feel like if the person you've been dreaming of becoming was already standing in your shoes, breathing your breath and living your life? Together, we're taking a journey into the core truths shared by Neville Goddard, the 20th century mystic who redefined the human experience by opening a path for millions to realize that imagination is nothing less than God in action. The person you envision in the quiet of your mind is the divine, waiting to touch the earth through you. But how do we bridge the gap between imagination and the real life of breath and being? To answer that, we look to one of Neville's most transformational teachings. There is no one to change but self. This work reveals that we do not reach our desires by changing the world outside of us, but by shifting the consciousness within us. Tonight, we take our first step onto that bridge, moving from the dream to living the dream. Neville identified a sacred window, that soft, drowsy space between waking and sleep, where the noise of the world fades and the subconscious mind opens wide. While modern science speaks of neuroplasticity and theta brainwaves, this truth remains. In this twilight state, your subconscious mind is at its most receptive. As you drift, remember, you aren't just daydreaming or falling asleep. You're waking up to your power. I'm so glad you found your way here. Before we settle into this session, which is all about taking back your power and manifesting the life you've been dreaming of, I'd love to invite you to subscribe. It helps us keep sharing these tools for abundance with you. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, please share this video with them and don't forget to like it. But for now, this time belongs to you. Let go of the world outside. Take a deep breath, and let's begin. I invite you to sit or lie down comfortably. Take a moment to settle into a smooth and even breath. Bring your attention to the crown of your head, and with each breath, allow a wave of relaxation to wash over you, from the top of your head all the way to the soles of your feet. As you breathe in and out with each breath, you become more and more relaxed. Check that your shoulders are relaxed away from your ears and that there's no tension in your neck or anywhere else in your body. Allow your thoughts to slow down and become quiet, and notice the vast space in your mind. Set an intention to receive exactly the wisdom you need and to implant it permanently in your subconscious mind. And now, the only thing to change is yourself, the wisdom of Neville Goddard. That I may not be misunderstood, let me again lay the foundation for this principle. Consciousness is the one and only reality. We are incapable of seeing other than the contents of our consciousness. Therefore, hate betrays us in the hour of victory and condemns us to be that which we condemn. All conquest results in an exchange of characteristics, so that the conquerors become like the conquered foe. We hate others for the evil which is in ourselves. Races, nations, and religious groups have lived for centuries in intimate hostility, and it is the nature of hatred as it is the nature of love, to change us into the likeness of that. Nations act toward other nations as their own citizens act toward each other. When slavery exists in a state and that nation attacks another, it is with intent to enslave. When there is fierce economic competition between citizen and citizen, and then there is a war with another nation, the object of the war is to destroy the trade of the enemy. Wars of domination are brought about by the will of those within a nation who dominate over the fortunes of the rest. We radiate the world that surrounds us by the intensity of our imagination and feeling. But in this three-dimensional world of ours, time beats slowly, and so we do not always observe the relationship of the visible world to our inner nature. Now that is really what I meant. I thought I had said it. That I may not be misunderstood. That is my principle. You and I contemplate an ideal and become it by falling in love with it. On the other hand, we can contemplate something by heartily disliking it and condemning it, and then we become it. Because of the slowness of time in the three-dimensional world, when we do become what we contemplated, we have forgotten that formerly we set out to worship or destroy it. Because consciousness is the only reality, I must assume that I am already that which I desire to be. For if I do not believe that I am already what I want to be, then I remain as I am and die in this limitation. People are always looking for some prop on which to lean. They're always looking for some excuse to justify failure. This revelation gives us no excuse for failure. Our concept of ourselves is the cause of all circumstances of our life. All changes must first come from within ourselves, and if we do not change on the outside, it is because we have not changed within. You may not like what you just heard, that you must turn to your own consciousness as the only reality, the only foundation on which all phenomena can be explained. You might think, it's easier living when I can blame another. It's much easier living when I can blame society for my ills, or point a finger across the sea and blame another nation. It's easier living when I can blame the weather for the way I feel. But to tell you that you are the cause of all that happens to you, that you are forever molding your world in harmony with your inner nature, that is more than most are willing to accept. If this is true, then who can you turn to? If these words are enlightened awareness, I must return to them, even though they seem difficult to digest. When people fully understand this, they know that public opinion does not matter. What matters is your behavior. This constantly tells you who you believe yourself to be. It is impossible for anything to be lost. In this divine economy, nothing can be lost. It cannot even pass away. The little flower which has bloomed once blooms forever. It is invisible to you here with your limited focus, but it blooms forever in the larger dimension of your being, and tomorrow you will encounter it, if only in your imagination. I can descend from the sphere where the thing itself now lives, and as I descend in consciousness to a lower level within myself, it passes from my world. I say I have lost my health. I have lost my wealth. I have lost my standing in the community. I have lost my faith. I have lost 1,000 things. But the things in themselves, having once been real in my world, can never cease to be. They never become unreal with the passage of time. Previously, I thought I could change others through effort. Now I know I cannot change another unless I first change myself. To change another within my world, I must first change my concept of that other. And to do it best, I change my concept of self. For it was the concept I held of self that made me see others as I did. Had I a noble, dignified concept of myself, I never could have seen the unlovely in others. Instead of trying to change others through argument and force, it is better for me to ascend in consciousness to a higher level, and I will automatically change others by changing self. There is no one to change but self. That self is simply your awareness, your consciousness, and the world in which it lives is determined by the concept you hold of self. It is to consciousness that we must turn as the only reality, for there is no clear conception of the origin of worldly phenomena except that consciousness is all, and all is consciousness. You need no helper to bring you what you see. Do not for 1 second believe that I am advocating escape from reality when I ask you to simply assume you are now the person that you want to be. If you and I could envision what it would feel like to be what we wanted to be now and live in this mental atmosphere as though it were real, then, in a way we do not know, our vision would harden into fact. This is all we need do in order to ascend to the level where our vision is already an objective, concrete reality. You need change no one. Elevate yourself, and in so doing, you elevate others. To the pure, all things are pure. There is nothing in itself unclean, but by your concept of self, you see things as either clean or unclean. When you are one with divine love, you always bear fruit in harmony with that which you are. It is the most natural thing in the world for a pear tree to bear pears, an apple tree to bear apples, and for people to mold the circumstances of their life in harmony with their inner nature. A branch has no life if it is not connected to its tree. All I need do to change the fruit a branch bears is to graft it to a different tree. People have no life without divine consciousness. The fruit a branch bears shows the type of tree it sprouts from. Although it may not appear that you are living the life you want, all you need do to change it is to quietly assume that you are who you want to be, and in a way you do not know, you will become it. And the proof of the change can be seen in the changing circumstances in your world. There's no other way to change this world. Divine I amness, divine consciousness, is the way by which you change your world. As you change your concept of self, you change your world. When women and men help or hinder us, they only play the part that we, by our concept of self, wrote for them, and they play it automatically. They must play the parts that they are playing because we are what we are. You will change the world only when you become the embodiment of that which you want the world to be. You have but one gift in this world that is truly yours to give, and that is yourself. Unless you yourself are that which you want the world to be, you will never see it in the world. Do you know that no two people in a room live in the same world? We all go home to different worlds at night. We close our doors on an entirely different world. We rise each morning and go to work, where we meet others, but we all live in a different mental world and therefore different physical worlds. I can only give what I am. I have no other gift to give. If I want the world to be perfect, then who doesn't? I have failed only because I did not know that I could never see it perfect until I myself became perfect. If I am not perfect, I cannot see perfection. But the day that I become it, I beautify my world because I see it through my own eyes. The pure see all things as pure. No two attending a lecture hear the same message on any one night. Everyone hears the message through the lens of their own self-concept. What you hear is filtered through your prejudices, superstitions, and beliefs. Whatever you hear is colored by what is inside of you. If you are disturbed and you want others to be something different from what they appear to be, then you must be that which you want others to be. You must become the thing that you want others to be, or you will never see them to be that. Your consciousness, everyone's consciousness, is the only true foundation in the world. If you can deny the limitations of your birth, your environment, and the belief that you are just an extension of your family tree, and feel within yourself that you are divine, and sustain this assumption until it takes a central place and forms the habitual center of your energy. Your actions will flow from divine consciousness without thought or effort. You will mold a world in harmony with divine consciousness. When you open the eyes of the blind, unstop the ears of the deaf, give joy for mourning and beauty for ashes, then and only then have you truly established the divine connection. That is what you would automatically do were you truly conscious of being divine. Divine actions are the evidence of divine consciousness at work. Our ordinary alterations of consciousness as we pass from one state to another are not transformations because each of them can quickly reverse direction. But whenever our self-concept grows so stable that it neutralizes opposing beliefs, then that habitual self-concept defines our character and we are truly transformed. No matter what is brought before the presence of beauty, it sees only beauty. Be so completely identified with the lovely that you are incapable of seeing the unlovely. When you really become conscious of being enlightened reason, you will straighten withered arms and resurrect the dead hopes of others. You will do all the things that you could not do when you felt limited by your family tree. It is a bold step and should not be taken lightly, because to do so is to leave the limited self behind, forgetting it almost completely. Any enlargement of your concept of self involves a somewhat painful parting with a strongly rooted hereditary conception. The ligaments that hold us in the womb of conventional limitations are strong. All that you formerly believed you no longer believe. You now know that there is no power outside of your own consciousness. Therefore, you cannot turn to anyone outside of self. You have no ears for the suggestion that something else has power in it. You know the only reality is enlightened awareness, and that enlightened awareness is your own consciousness. There is no other divinity. Therefore, on this rock, you build your self-concept, and boldly assume you are this divine being, self-begotten, because you dared to appropriate that which was not given to you in your cradle. A concept of self not formed in your mother's womb, a concept of self conceived outside of the offices of ordinary reality. Quietly appropriate that which no person can give. Enlightened awareness. Dare to assume that you are divine. This must be of faith. This must be of promise. Then you are among the blessed. No one can tell you that you are divine. No one can convince you that you are enlightened awareness. You must toy with the idea and wonder what it would be like to be divine for yourself. No clear conception of the origin of the phenomenal world is possible except that consciousness is all and all is consciousness. To help you understand this law of consciousness and show you that you have no one to change but yourself, or you are incapable of seeing the other differently than the contents of your own consciousness. Ideas that we embody intimately with thoughts and emotions through the matching of frequencies awaken 1,000 moods that create experiences in keeping with the ideas we commit to. My mystical experiences have convinced me that there is no way to bring about the perfection we seek other than by the transformation of ourselves. As soon as we succeed in transforming ourselves, the world will melt magically before our eyes and reshape itself in harmony with the fruits of our transformation. We fashion the world that surrounds us by the intensity of our imagination and feeling, and we illuminate our darkened lives by the concepts we hold of ourselves. Nothing is more important to us than our conception of ourselves, and this is especially true for our concept of the deep, dimensionally greater one within us. Those that help or hinder us, whether they know it or not, are the servants of that law which shapes outward circumstances in harmony with our inner nature. There is nothing for you to do but change your own self-concept, to assume greatness and to sustain this assumption. If you walk as though you are already the ideal you that you conceive of, you will rise to the level of your assumption and find a world in harmony with your assumption. You will not have to lift a finger to make it so, for it is already so. It was always so. You and I have descended in consciousness to the level where we now find ourselves, and we see imperfection because we have descended. When we begin to ascend while here in this three-dimensional world, we find that we move in an entirely different environment. We have entirely different circles of friends and an entirely different world while still living here. Instead of changing things, I would suggest everyone identify themselves with the ideal they hold dear. What would it feel like if you had pure eyes to see that all things are pure and you are without condemnation? Contemplate the ideal state and identify yourself with it, and you will ascend to the sphere where you are living from your enlightened awareness, where you are still in that state where you were before the world was. When your self-concept has fallen, you see the broken parts, which really are not broken, because you are seeing them through distorted eyes. There is no one to change but self. All you need to do to make others holy in this world is to make yourself holy. You are incapable of seeing anything that is unlovely when you establish within your own mind's eye the fact that you are lovely. It is far better to know this than to know anything else in the world. It takes courage, boundless courage, because many, after having heard this truth, will still be inclined to blame others for their predicament. We find it so difficult to turn ourselves to our own consciousness, our own reality. Our self-concept molds a world in harmony with it and draws people to tell me constantly by their behavior who I am. The most important thing in this world to you is your concept of self. When you dislike your environment, the circumstances of life, and the behavior of people, ask yourself, who am I? It is your answer to this question that is the cause of your dislikes. If you do not condemn self, there will be no one in your world to condemn. If you are living the consciousness of your ideal, you will see nothing to condemn. To the pure, all things are pure. Now, I would like to spend a little time making as clear as I can what I personally do when I want to bring about changes in my world. You will find it interesting, and you will find that it works. No one here can tell me they cannot do it. It is so very simple. All can do it. We are what we imagine we are. This technique is not difficult to follow, but you must want to do it. You cannot approach it with the attitude of mind of, oh well, I'll try it. You must want to do it, because the mainspring of action is desire. Desire is the mainspring of all action. Now, what do you want? You must define your objective. For example, suppose I want to be somewhere else now. This very moment, I really desire to be elsewhere. I need not go through the door. I need not sit down. I need not do anything but stand just where I am and with my eyes closed. Assume that I am actually standing where I desire to be. Then, I remain in this state until it has the feeling of reality. Were I elsewhere, I could not see the world as I now see it from here. The world changes in its relationship to me as I change my position in space. So I stand here, eyes closed, and imagine I'm seeing what I would see were I there. I remain in it long enough to feel it is real. I cannot touch the walls of this room from here, but when I close my eyes and I become still, I can imagine and feel that I touch them. You can stand where you are and imagine you are putting your hand on a wall. To prove you really are, put it there and slide it up and down and feel the wood. You can imagine you are doing it without getting out of your seat. You can do it, and you will actually feel it if you become still enough and intense enough. I stand here. I am, and I allow the world that I want to see and to experience physically to come before me as though I were there now. In other words, I bring elsewhere here by assuming that I am there. Is that clear? I let it come up. I do not make it come up. I simply imagine I am there and then let it happen. If I want someone physically present, I imagine them standing here and I touch them. If you want to comfort someone, what is the automatic feeling? You put your hand on them. You cannot resist it. You meet a friend and the hand goes out automatically. You either shake hands or you put your hand on her shoulder. Suppose you were now to meet a friend that you've not seen for a year, and she is a friend whom you are very fond. What would you do? You would embrace her, wouldn't you? Or you would put your hand on her. In your imagination, bring her close enough to put your hand on her and feel her to be solidly real. Restrict the action to just that. You will be amazed at what happens. From then on, things begin to move. Your dimensionally greater self will inspire all the ideas and actions necessary to bring you into physical contact. It truly works that way. Every day I put myself into a drowsy state. It's a very easy thing to do. But habit is a strange thing. It isn't a law, but habit acts as though it were the most compelling law in the world. And we are creatures of habit. If you want to change your world, you must first change your thoughts. And since your thoughts are the result of your concept of self, you must change that concept. I have found no way to do this as effectively as when I am in a drowsy state. I use it in this manner. I define my objective. I know exactly what I want. Then I sit down and I induce a state of drowsiness. I don't mean to go to sleep, but I am just on the verge of it. And when I reach that state, I begin to imagine that I am already that which I want to be. I do not think of how I am going to become it. I simply feel that I am it. I keep that state until I feel the thrill of being what I have assumed. Then I let it go. I do not have to do anything to make it come to pass. The world is a mirror, forever reflecting what you are doing within yourself. If you are a noble person, you will find a noble world. If you are a mean person, you will find a mean world. But you do not have to remain mean. You can assume you are noble, even if the world tells you that you are not. If you persist in that assumption, you will find that the world begins to change to match your new concept of self. My consciousness, the I amness, is the foundation of my life. When I know this, I no longer look to the outside for help. I do not look to priests or books or rituals. I look only to my own consciousness. This is the great secret. This is the enlightened self-awareness within you, the hope of divinity. When you realize that you are the creator of your own world, you will begin to live as a divine being. You will no longer be a slave to circumstances. You will be the mistress of your destiny. Tonight, as you go to your respective homes, do not go as the same person who came here. Go as the person you want to be. Feel it, assume it, and live in that state. And you will find that the world will reshape itself in harmony with your assumption. That power is yours now. It has always been yours. All you need do is claim it.